He appeared in the city in a cafe for the deaf. Within 10 minutes in the labyrinth of that same city, I met my earthly love. First I saw his sedan, then I saw him. Within this room, divine powers are commensurating and waiting for our attention. The dawn is coming, the courtyard empty. When you see my king, offer this world as my allegory. Bello. And I'd like to read next from a small book I made called Amiata. It happened to be the first one after the Great Loss, and I made it as a kind of, scroll. And I was just reading it before coming here, and I thought, cool state of mind in that time is what I thought. Okay, here's a few poems. The first one, Invitation to Yeshe Sogyal. Queen of space, queen of Kun Zang's essential empty void, you, rejected widow of the 9 men of Tibet, queen of the ocean of pure awareness, are invited to visit me today. Lace. To divest oneself of the parable. Illusory water on which you walk neglected, the phantom, the night, the lace on your dress and robe. It has fallen, and you do not want to sew it back again. Now you have changed. Blade. Blade in Italian is also lama. In the far gleam of the blade on the shore, in the forgotten sequence, the wine on the table, the sacred fish, luminous the center, luminous the night, luminous the triangle visualized in your confusion, the veil, the water, the note from the tree. That poem is dedicated to Giacinto Scelsi, the composer. Bows. But time was like an arrow, flowing through the light of consciousness. One lamp, one letter, illumined the darkness, and yet the fire, and yet the sweet perfume, and yet the boughs of the pines of love. This is the last one I'll read from this. Sunset, beautiful and tentative, the leaves falling over the wall of the banks of the Tevere. Lotus, the beautiful lotus is still closed as sun rises in the botanical garden of Rome. And this is the last part, orchid. Something about the orchid and dogwood blossoms, about the indescribable silence and the loneliness, the last sublime meeting with you. Leaving Rome, you are the guardian, you are the teaching, you are the trembling world. And I think I'll close this part of the reading by reading a couple of poems from this book, Concerto, which was published in America when I first went back. To my amazement, they copied the accordion. I was told I should ask them for retribution. Of course, I didn't. Okay, the first one is called The Window. I dreamed you were pulling me through the window, and all I saw was sun. I dreamed you were touching me, like light on water, and all I felt was fire. This one is called Opaque. The old black lights have darkened on the hill. Even the shadows seem more near as opaque fish cross crowds of moonlight, and I see you're dancing there on a meadow, white, bright. And this one dedicated to Henri Michaud, who I also translated. Silence my tree, silence my ark, silence my mate. Silence you master darkness and light. Silence you comfort the marsh of dream. Silence my arbor, silence. And the last one I'll read from this is called Cage. From the inside of the cage, it is difficult to see what is going on the outside, or even on the inside, as the cage itself has a way of refracting the light. The other languages seem so strange, and all the other birds are speaking, not just you. Some speak and some sing. To the outsider it appears that all the birds are singing, but some are not. From the inside of the cage, it is difficult to understand the mountain itself is glass, and even the wish to fly has a transparency that is only visible from air. Speak with incredible softness, but what will you hear when sudden wings engulf you, and the water lilies open their petals even before the rising of the sun? As though by magical transport the light were born, and not of sun and moon, but from within. Speaking of diamonds, and suddenly the brilliant rays were waves of sound within, the country without a border. And to close this part of the reading, I want to read from a small book called The Tower. And there is an actual tower in mine. This is it.
That's here.
Yeah, that's here about 100 meters away. And I was fortunate to meet a countess. She was a Dutch countess, though she kept it secret. And together we managed to find together a small press called Il Bagato.